Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Alpha Girl Confidence Podcast. This is episode 179, and I'm your host, Shay Haddo. As you can tell from the frogginess of my voice, so excuse my voice. I'm sick, but the show must go on. So I hope that my voice isn't too unbearable to listen to. You might get some cracks in there, but stay with me because we have some really exciting content today in today's episode. So it's going to be a good one. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to more effectively handle pressure. So I know that as an athlete, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and your parents probably put a lot of pressure on you. Your coaches probably put a lot of pressure on you. So there's always a lot of external and internal pressures on you to perform well, to play well, to get good grades, to do all of the things, right? And a lot of the times when there's too much pressure, we can crack. Right. You've all heard the term cracking under pressure, choking under pressure, whatever it is. But the first thing that we need to understand before we go into these four things is that pressure is not always a bad thing, right? Think about pressure is if there's not enough pressure, you're not going to perform well. If there's too much pressure, you're not going to perform well. So we're looking for this like kind of perfect amount of pressure, right? But there's the thing about that is that pressure is perceived. So pressure isn't something that you're like, okay, I want this amount of pressure. No, it's all about how you perceive the pressure. So you have the responsibility and you have the ability to control how you perceive pressure. So let's get into 4 ways and how you can better navigate and deal with pressures, whether it's in your sport, in your school, or in your daily life. So number 1, which I kind of just mentioned, is that understanding that pressure is just your perception, right? Pressure and the way we're talking about it isn't actually real, right? You could take the same 2 people on the same team. There's both a lot of pressure to win the championship, whatever it is, right? You could take those same 2 people or say 2 different people, and one person may feel a lot of pressure and one person may not feel very much pressure, right? So it's completely perceived, right? So what I want you to do with this, number 1 is understanding it's perceived, right? And then also is realize that you have the ability to create your own meaning of pressure. So is pressure something that's bad? Do you create a meaning of negativity of like, oh my gosh, this is too much? Or do you create a meaning of like pressure is good, pressure is going to help me to perform? So here's an example. When I was playing club soccer for Utah Avalanche, every single year we had t-shirts, and on those t-shirts was a saying. So one year that saying was pressure is a privilege. And at the time I was like, pressure is not a privilege. I hated pressure. I didn't know how to deal with it. And so I personally didn't like that saying. But as I kind of got older and as I kept growing in myself and myself as an athlete, I understood. I was like, oh, now I actually get that pressure is a privilege. Here's an example. If you're playing for the championship game, you're going to feel more pressure than you would if you're just playing in a scrimmage, right? Like pressure is a privilege. If you're a pro athlete, you're going to feel more pressure than if you're a recreational athlete. So that's one meaning you could assign. You could create a meaning that it means that people really trust me and believe in me and care about me, right? If you're feeling the external pressure. So that's number 1 is it's just your perception and you can create your own meaning of that pressure. All right. Number 2 is to focus on the process and not the outcome. So a lot of times we feel pressure because we're like only focused on the result, only focused on the outcome. So let's use an example of a team that is like number 1 in the nation, whatever that means. They're number 1 in the nation and they feel a lot of pressure to stay on top of the mountain, right? And that's a lot of pressure, right? And if you focus on, oh, we have to win this game, we have to stay on top of the mountain, that's going to create a lot of pressure. But if you can look at it like, oh, we just need to show up to practice and work hard today. And if we do, that will take care of itself. We just need to show up for each other. We just need to go out individually and do our jobs and therefore do our job as a team, right? If you just focus on the process as opposed to the outcome, that's going to help. Now let's use a school example. Instead of thinking, oh, I have to get an A in order to pass this class, can we just like focus on getting a good grade on this one assignment? Or can we just focus on one problem at a time? Like focus on the little things that'll get you to the outcome, not the outcome, and that'll help relieve some of that pressure. All right. Number 3 And this is a huge one. This, as I've been talking about this in my group programs, and I've even talked to a high school team about what I'm sharing with you guys on the podcast. This was one of the ones that resonated the most with most of the girls that I work with. So number 3 is understand that all you can ever give is 100% of what you have that day. All right, I'm going to say that again. Understand that all you can ever give is a 100% of what you have that day. So we all know, yeah, let's give 100%. But here's the thing. Some days your 100% is not going to be your best. Let's say that you're on your period, that you have cramps, that you had a bad conversation with your friend, whatever, and like physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, you're not at 100%. Even if you're not at 100%, you can still give 100% of what you have in the tank. Right. So regardless of if you're sick, if you're not feeling well, if you're just emotionally or mentally drained, you may not be at your best, but you can still give the best that you have. So this is something that I actually, when I was a youth player and a college player, this is something that I used to tell myself before every game, because I felt tons of pressure from coaches and parents and just for myself. And that was something I remember in the huddle. Before we would do our cheer, I was just like, Shay, all you can ever give is 100%. All you can ever give is 100%. And if I went out and I gave 100%, I was going to perform well. I was going to have fun. I was going to be confident. So remember that even if you're not at your best, you can still give 100% of what you have that day. All right. And number 4 is to have more fun. Have fun with it. Like the reason you play your sport isn't to be number 1, isn't to go pro, isn't to do all these things and impress all these people. It's to have fun. So the more fun you have, it's going to relieve some of that pressure. And again, it's not like we're trying to take away all the pressure, because some pressure can be really good. But like, we just need to remind ourselves of why we started, like why we're playing. It's not to do all of these things. It's to have fun. Like that's why you play the sport, to have fun. So as you're feeling a lot of pressure, and let's say you got a championship game, or let's say there's college coaches watching you, as you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much pressure. I have to do this. I have to do that. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Just be like, yeah, I'm just going to go have fun. Like I'm going to have fun with it. And when you have fun with it, naturally it's going to relieve some of that pressure. So remember to have fun with it. All right. A lot of times that can get, with the competition of it all, we can kind of forget about that. So remember to have fun with it. All right. So those are your 4 things in order to help navigate the pressure, in order to better deal with pressure. And as I said, this is something that we went really deep into in the Alpha Girl Collective, probably like a month or 2 ago. And it was so powerful on that call. We had such an amazing discussion that I wanted to share it with you guys here on the podcast. So I hope it was helpful. If you want to learn more about how you can join the Alpha Girl Collective, how you can join our community and work with me and other like-minded girls, and if you're a parent, how your daughter can work with other like-minded girls, then click the link in the show notes below, and we would love to have you and love to help you along your confidence journey. All right, hope this episode is helpful, and I'll catch you on the next one.